At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Yes, I love that opening because it always gets a laugh out of people. We have, rational thoughts, irrational thoughts. If you've ever thought about having your story or your book turned into a movie, a lot of people have. It's a very confusing, unfamiliar space for a lot of authors, especially business people. But on today's show, we have a very influential and professional person who can take your idea, your book, from script to screen. So without further ado, we're going to learn about that from Oliver Tuthill. Oliver, how are you today?
Hey, Doug. Good to be on your show. Thanks for having me.
You bet. My pleasure. We're going to get to how people can think about getting their book or their story into a movie. Before I do that, I want to talk about you for a moment. Can you tell me about your background, how you get involved with this crazy business?
Well, I started out in the entertainment business as a child. I was a singer-songwriter. I was recording music when I was like 8, 9, 10 years old. And then when I was a young man, I moved to Hollywood, tried to get a record deal there. I did. I signed a record deal with GNP Crescendo Records.
Nice.
And I also had some songs published through Columbia's publishing wing. Mm-hmm. And I was in Hollywood, and I was working with some bands, and I was also doing some studio recording. I was a studio musician, and I thought, why not get into the movies? So I started taking acting lessons, and one thing led to another. I started doing extra work. I met a guy at MGM Studios. I was doing the movie Logan's Run, and his name was Hal Marshall. He's president of People's Casting Service, and he brought me on and managed me, and then he got me a Screen Actors Guild card. He got me a lead role in an independent film. Things just kind of went from there, and then I started doing day player roles in TV shows, and I was writing plays at the time and directing plays, and then I moved to Seattle, Washington, and I started my own nonprofit film company, and I made educational films for about 10 years and won several awards. I won the Governor's Award from Governor Gary Locke when he was governor in media for my work there. And then I started an LLC, and I made more commercial films. I made feature films, more documentaries. But I was winning a lot of awards as a writer, and I had people coming to me and saying, can you write me a screenplay, or could you help me with my screenplay?
Yeah.
And then I met an actress by the name of Tara Walker, and she was a very good writer too. And she produced with me a couple of my movies. And then we decided just really 3 years ago to join forces and start our company. It's called Cinema Writing and Development Services, LLC. And we've been in business together for 3 years, and we help a lot of writers. We help a lot of book authors. We take their books and we adapt them into screenplays, and then we shop them to Hollywood.
Wow, that's wonderful. That's you've got a great, obviously, background to pull this off with your experience in front of the camera and behind the camera. That's very valuable. Most people, it's one or the other. A lot of people, we've been publishing books for 15 years, and I think half the people I talk to think their story could be a movie. There's only so much bandwidth, of course, and there's only so many, places to watch a movie nowadays. How have you seen the industry change in the past 10 years? I know, with Netflix and Amazon, there's a lot of more places you can distribute the film. But how does that affect the storytelling process for people who want to get their stories out there?
It actually improves their odds because there's even more with streaming. There's even more venues now.
Yeah.
Platforms, companies, organizations, production companies, studios that are looking for material. And because there's a saying in Hollywood, content is king. And so they're always looking for new content. And it's increased the odds. We did have some problems with a strike. A couple of years ago, there was a writer's strike, which was pretty heavy. But there's still producers are always looking for content.
Yeah.
I still, some of my contacts will say, what do you got? Do you got a good thriller? Do you got a good horror script?
Yeah.
They're always looking. And so it is a tough business. It's very competitive. I won't say that it's not, but people are always looking for content. So there's always that shot. It's a high-risk business. High risk, high reward.
Right. So when you're looking at someone's book or story, I'm going to guess, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but sometimes you can look at something and go, wow, this is amazing, or wow, this needs a lot of work. What are some of the core differences between a mediocre story and one that you think could be a great screenplay?
Well, I would say definitely if there's something really that will resonate with the audience. I've got one client, he wrote a science fiction novel. It was about a group of kids that go back in time to World War II to try and stop the war.
Yeah.
And it's very creative. It reminded me of a Steven Spielberg film.
Mm-hmm.
And the screenplay that Tara and I adapted has won over 400 Best Screenplay Awards.
Wow.
And we got him a deal. He signed a deal with a production company. Mm-hmm. And then we have some books that we've worked with, some authors, that the story, they don't know how to tell a story sometimes, but we'll help them with that. I mean, somebody can come to us and they don't really know how to write. Mm-hmm. We can take that story and turn it into something commercial. Yeah. But what we always look for is if there's a great, lead character, if there's some type of arc the character goes through or the characters, and then what type of story is it? We're working on it with a client right now whose story is about, he grew up a very poor guy in an African village. Mm-hmm. And he went on, came to the United States, studied in the Soviet Union. This is way back in the 70s. And now he's a very brilliant, successful businessman. Hmm. And then we had another client, we read his book and we thought, wow, this is great. Uh-huh. And he wrote it about his father, who was a tank commander during World War II, during the Normandy invasion. And it was like action-packed. It was very exciting, and it helped, too. He was published with William Morrow, which is a very successful, very big publisher. We did get another movie deal with him for him, too.
When I'm reading books that we do, which is a lot of, obviously nonfiction, creative nonfiction, we have to have storytelling elements in there to make it go. And one of the key things that I've heard years ago when I was in, I studied this at school. I was a, TV and film major, but I know that when you're reading a book, it's very common to go into the character's thoughts, and you can talk about what they're thinking about, and you can relay a lot more internal dialogue than in a movie. It's very rare, unless it's like, Book Thief or something where you've got a narrator, or Shawshank, there's an actual narrator there. But by and large, you can't tell the audience what the person's thinking in a movie. And that's why the visual display of emotion and thought and context is so powerful. And I've always wondered how you actually are able to translate visuals in a screenplay, because I'm also told you're not supposed to put too much descriptive language in there. You guys say, scene, night.
You're right, Doug. It's a visual medium. And so people want to see, and of course, as you know, some of the best filmmakers that ever lived made silent movies, like Alfred Hitchcock, right, where there was no dialogue. Uh-huh. And they print the words on the screen a little bit. But you're right. When we work with authors, we have to let them know, number one, we can't take the innermost thoughts of the character and relay that in a film unless you have, like you say, narration. Mm-hmm. And there's some films like Shawshank or Kevin Costner's Dances with Wolves. But for the most part, you have to show instead of tell. And so if there is a lot of inner dialogue, we have to really just kind of take that out and maybe show what the character is experiencing visually. Most people think, writing a screenplay, I've spoken with a lot of authors, I can write my own screenplay. Uh-huh. It's an art. I mean, it took me 10 years to get good at it. And I probably wrote 10,000, well, maybe not that many, but I wrote a lot of screenplays before I got good at it. And then I studied the craft, too. I had teachers. I read a lot of books. Mm-hmm. But mainly just wrote. And it's different. It's totally different from a book. Because I'm a novelist, too. I've written, a couple of novels, and it's a totally different, Right. It's like plays and movies. They're different art forms, too. There's similarities, but they're different.
Yeah. Have you been paying attention to, obviously with the writer's strike, but how AI is impacting the entertainment industry?
It's a huge impact.
Yeah.
And we're going to see more of it. They actually have software now that can generate films, short clips and stuff like that.
Yeah, right.
A lot of people are using it to enhance their scripts. It's being used a lot. And unfortunately, it is going to take up a lot of jobs that people do. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you've noticed that, too. It's changing. It's just changing the landscape of the entertainment industry, as it is every industry in this country, pretty much. Especially white-collar jobs. They're going to suffer the most.
Yes. What have you been giving any advice to your clients about what they can do to, stay relevant in the script writing world?
Be original. Be original. You know, AI is not original.
No.
And AI gets it wrong a lot of times too. And you can ask AI to write you a scene. And I've done that sometimes, but I've had to go through and heavily edit it
Yeah. Right.
to make it really resonate and to make it real.
Yeah.
So humans still are ahead of AI now, but it can be used to supplement your work and supplement your creativity. Although it is taking, I mean, you can make images and all sorts of things. I have a film in development. I had some guy make a poster, and I thought, wow, you got a great graphic artist. He said, no, AI did it. So
Yeah. I'm you know, I'm a little gray hair, so I use AI every day for my operations. But on the creative side, we don't go very deep into that. You know, spin some titles here and there. But I did a TEDx talk called "The Power of Humanity in the Shadow of AI." And I
nice.
talked about the three things that AI cannot do, which is it cannot experience anything. Like you and I have experienced
That's
light,
right.
and we can infuse our experiences, which AI can only talk about. It can't experience it.
That's
It
right.
has no heart, no soul,
That's
and
right.
most importantly, it has no responsibility. So at the end of the day,
Very
you're still
true.
responsible for your output. So, you know, it's an important thing.
Yes, human creativity still is number one.
Yeah, it is. What's probably one of the best stories or screenplays you've had a chance to work with?
I would say probably the top. We've had a few that are really outstanding. Probably my favorite one is this one about World War II. That was really good. There was another one, another client I worked with a year ago. He wrote a story about David and Goliath
Mm-hmm.
that I thought was really, he wrote a lot about David when he was a kid,
Oh, nice.
which I thought was really excellent.
Mm-hmm.
I think he got a deal. I put him in touch with a producer and they seemed to hit it off. And he said, yeah, he was going to sign a contract with him. And then a lot of times,
Right.
once I got him together, the author gets very possessive and he says, well, I'm just going to work with this producer. Thanks, Oliver. See you later. And that's okay. I mean, you know, we get hired to
Yeah.
help them and sometimes they want credit on the screenplay and we'll do that if they really insist.
Yeah.
You know, to be one of the writers to help them.
How important is that on the credits on the IMDb database? I say, you know, co-written or story based on. How important is that to have that credential?
Well, it's very important for people like Tara and I because we're professional writers.
Yeah.
And before someone hires us, although a lot of authors don't even know about Internet Movie Database, but the producers do. And so when we take a script, a screenplay we've adapted to a production company or a producer, a creative executive or development executive, they're going to look us up if they don't know who we are. We know a lot of producers and directors in Hollywood, but sometimes our product will wind up with somebody we don't know. And so they'll look us up. And, you know, we've both won a lot of awards. So it helps. Now, if you're unknown, I mean, I had one author that said, well, I want my name as the screenplay writer. So we were basically ghostwriters. And I said, it'll be much harder to place because you're not an experienced screenplay writer.
See, this is an important point here because yeah, if you think you got a great story and you want credit, you might want to back up a little bit and do some smaller work first to build up your database, your CV file, because
Exactly.
yeah,
And
interesting.
see, when people hire us, not only do they hire us for our expertise, they hire us because of our contacts.
Yeah,
But a lot of them hire us because they know if our names, you know, it says Constantine the Great, book by Joe Smith, you know, screenplay adapted by Oliver Tuthill and
Right.
Tara Walker.
Uh-huh.
Some of them are smart enough to know, well, you know, if Oliver and Tara's name's on the script, they're experienced scriptwriters and they have a track record.
Yeah.
They've got deals. They've won a lot of screenplay awards. They have product on the streaming platforms. They know it can help sell the script. And we don't own it. They own the rights to it. But it helps them if our names are on there as the screenplay writers.
Yeah, folks, if you're thinking about converting your story, your book into a movie, Oliver's a guy. You know, yeah, he's going to be. It's fee-based structure, right? You're gonna get, obviously you're gonna invest with him in order to get the screenplay properly written and rewritten and edited and positioned. But that data that you have, I have experience in Hollywood, that's going to go a long way. And I think anybody who's thinking about that, if you really want credit, focus on the book, story by you, but screenplay by Oliver, and you get the best of both worlds. You get a credit for the story, and you get a professional to shop it out there, right?
Exactly. And if when we place it, you know, the person that owns the property, they make the most money. You know, they make more than us as screenplay writers. And it's just, it just helps them a lot. And also, I should add too, Doug, our rates are far, far below what Hollywood
Oh
screenplayers.
gosh, yes. We're not going to talk about numbers today, but we've had conversations beforehand. And as I mentioned, I have a couple friends in the industry, and I know what they got paid. You know, my one
Yeah,
friend, I think he wrote 3 movies and he retired. So
yeah,
yeah, it's there's different levels of stuff there, but you've got great credentials, and the fees you charge to do this are next to nothing compared to industry standards, I guess, right?
it's true. And Tara and I are both writers. We've both
Hmm.
written books,
Right.
and we love book writers. We love authors. We love nonfiction.
Hmm.
We love novels,
Yeah.
and we want to help them. And I'd rather be busy and helping people. And Tara feels the same way, rather than charge a big fee and go, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
this is great." So we like to stay busy too, and by offering a very competitive rate, a fraction of what it would cost to hire
Hmm.
a Hollywood screenplay writer, we stay busy and we make people happy.
I love it. I love it. How do people get a hold of you?
Yes, they can contact me. Is it okay to give my phone number?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's your show.
Yeah, they can call me directly at area code 206-519-8884.
Mhm.
They can go to our website, which is cinemawds.com. I think it's http://cinemawds.com. Or they can email me at info@cinemawds.com.
There you go. That'll all be below here, and I'll put it in the show notes. They can go
Thank
and
you.
click on some do that. But yeah,
Thanks, Doug.
folks, if you've got a story, you've got a book or an idea for one, and you know it could be a good movie, you're not really sure, get professional help. You're not going to get in this world, in that space, in that environment, without having someone to help you out do that. And Oliver is obviously very qualified to help you do that. So I
Let me
recommend.
just throw in very quickly too, Doug.
Yeah, go ahead.
They can call. There's no charge. We offer a free consultation, 30-minute free consultation. And so we can call, we can talk about it, and they don't have to make a decision right away. Sometimes you have to wait a week or two.
Sure, that's fine. Very good. Oliver, it's a pleasure having the show today. I wish you the best of luck. And folks, if you're looking to take your from story to the big screen, Oliver's your guy. Get a hold of him. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
That
Doug.
finishes our
Thank you.
show today. Stick around for a second, Oliver. I'm going to go ahead and just close out. You didn't take notes. They're right below here. Click and get show notes. And if you haven't, checked us out, please do that. Subscribe, and we'd love to see you in the next show. Thank you so much, and have a great day.